Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Comedy Castle podcast. I'm Joel Fragamini. I'm going to be your host today, talking about everything going on at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle. And this is I think this is a first for me. There are 7 straight nights of shows starting tomorrow as I record. But today, as you're listening to this, Tuesday, November the 12th, it starts. It's 7 days. This weekend, John Heffron, he talked to me today. I love talking to John. John's a legend at our place. And we had a really, really funny talk. So I think you're going to enjoy listening to John. And he's been on the show many times. He's always good to promote. And tickets are going fast, but you can still get in for John. But let's tell you everything that's going on this week. Maybe we'll even recap a little bit of the Pauly Shore weekend for those that came out to that one. There's a wild one this past weekend, but we got another good week. Again, 7 days in a row of comedy. Let's tell you what's going on. Starting Tuesday, the 12th of November, we've got the Detroit to LA semifinals. So there's 2 of these shows. This is the first one. It's at 7:30 p.m., and we got a great lineup of folks on this one who have already been through the first round. It's too many names to list here but great. You're going to come out and have a good time if your friends in that, if your family's in that. If not, if you just want to watch a really good comedy show on a Tuesday night, you're not going to do better than the Detroit to LA semifinals at 7:30 p.m. on November 12th. And then November 13th, that's a Wednesday, Jiaying Summers has coming to the Comedy Castle for the first time. Now, Jiaying was supposed to be here last Wednesday on the 6th, but things happened where she couldn't make it, so it was rescheduled for this coming up Wednesday. And so that'll be a great show. There's still tickets available for that one. There's a VIP option as well. Post-show meet and greet, the whole thing. You can get those tickets. Got my student Ree Ledbetter emceeing that show. Ree is so funny and doing great. And Johanna Mandronda will be on that show as well. So should be a nice time with Jiaying Summers. I know she's real big on social media, and you'll have fun at that show. John Heffron, as we mentioned, 5 big shows starting on Thursday, the 14th at 7:30 p.m. We go to Friday, the 15th, 7:15 and 9:45 are your Friday show times. And then Saturday at 7 p.m. and 9:30 with John Heffron and the openers. Sheila Lovely is your MC. And the former host of this show, Tom McCarthy, features. Just great. They're all 3 of those guys. Come on. And girls. Sheila's wonderful. You know Tom from this show. We love Tom. So funny. And John, you'll hear from John in just a couple of minutes. Gus Constantellis comes in on Sunday night at 7 p.m. for one show. We had Gus on the show last week. He is a gay, first-generation, gay, I'm reading this off the website, gay, first-generation, Greek-American stand-up comedian and writer. He had such a funny show last time he was here. I mean, there's a very nice talk I had with Gus, too, last year. That's up on this show. I'll link to it there on Comedy Castle Podcast. So you can listen to me talking to Gus that we did last year. But that's Sunday night at 7 p.m., the 17th of November. And then the 7th day of show, which I'm going to plug it anyway. Me and Heffron talked about it a little bit. Stone Cold and the Jackal, the holiday show. That's a couple of guys from the soap operas there, General Hospital, 7 p.m. But that show is sold out. But I'm going to mention it just to make it official. 7 days of shows at the Comedy Castle and a sellout from those guys. They always pack that place, and it's a fun show. But again, no tickets available. You can always check the website, see if maybe some open up as it gets a little closer. But yeah, that show is gone, and we want to thank everybody who bought tickets and are looking forward to that show. All right. So busy. That's what they say. You know, in Michigan, in the summertime, you're a little slow. Then you get into the fall, and the fall's big. Here's the deal, though. October, you're competing with Halloween. Halloween seems to get bigger and bigger. And when we talk about Halloween getting bigger and bigger, that's with adults. That's with adults going to Halloween parties. That's not talking about, so business really picks up in November. And what a huge week. We just had Pauly Shore in for 5 shows, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I'm still exhausted. I'm still worn out. I'm worn out from our sellout crowds. We sold out, I believe, every single show. Maybe, I think Sunday had a few tickets left. But the show sold out. Very busy, very long meet and greet lines where I sort of acted as Pauly Shore security. which he couldn't have been that threatened if I was the security. But yeah, man, doing that and just running around getting stuff for Pauly Shore was pretty exhausting. And of course, seating all the great fans we had come out for that one. Exhausting, but Paulie's funny, man. Paulie's doing, you might say he's washed up in the whole thing, but here's the thing. The guy is a good comedian. He really is. He tells great jokes, writes great jokes, very self-aware. He doesn't lean, you could say he's leaning on what he did, in his heyday, but he's aware. He's aware he hasn't been in a movie in a while. He's trying to make the Richard Simmons movie. He talked about that. He's going to play Richard Simmons in the biopic. Richard didn't like it, but he says, F him, he's dead. Paulie had some real great shows. His opener, Frank Castillo, was a wonderful dude. It's great to meet you, Frank. And, we can't forget about Robert Horton, who was the middle act for this past weekend, Detroit's own. One of my students, Robert Horton, rocked that mic all weekend. Good job, Robert. But we had a real fun week with Paulie. But I'm just whipped, man. I don't think it shows up in this interview you're going to hear me and John, because I think I drank enough coffee. I think I'm going to drink some more coffee right now. But yeah, man, coffee on a Monday got me up for this one. And but John's so great. John's so fun to talk to. He talks about this is his 35th year performing at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle. That's right. That's a long time. That's more than I would say anybody else. And it's great. And people come out. And like I said, tickets for some of those shows are getting hard to come by. So check comedycastle.com and check out maybe the Thursday show, the late show Friday, for better seats. I don't think any of them are officially sold out, but they're going to be. So get into that. And we talked about a lot of fun stuff here. We talked about his comedy writing. And we talk about some of it being generational comedy. This generation better than your generation. And but John doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to really lean on that too much. A lot of comics do, but he doesn't. He describes his style as totem pole comedy writing. He'll explain it on there. We talk about telling jokes on your deathbed, which I think both John and I will be guilty of doing when that day comes, sadly. We'll talk about different comedy clubs. John's life now being based in Michigan, a lot more driving than flying. You'll hear what he says about the little shows. And then he's got an opinion on arena comedy. Yeah, arena comedy. Well, what's the downside of arena comedy? We both have thoughts. And it was really great. I love talking to John. I really do. I always say on this show, sometimes you hear me say, I could talk to this guy forever, talk to this girl forever, whatever. I could talk to John a real long time. But we want you to come to the shows. This is a good one, guys. Let's listen right now to John Heffron, and we'll be back after this. Ladies and gentlemen, on the other end of my line, he is back. His annual trip to Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle. John Heffron, thanks for talking to me today. What's going on, dude?
You know what? I'm talking to you with just headphones on.
Okay.
Like I don't, this podcasting thing I think is going to take off.
Okay.
And I'm the type of guy who buys really nice podcasting equipment.
Yeah.
But I don't podcast about anything.
Mm.
And then now I'm just using the one earpiece that I haven't lost on my phone to talk to you. So I apologize to everybody listening.
No, it's nice. I have nice podcast equipment, and I will tell you, as good as it is, and it certainly made the show easier, when it doesn't work, I got no solution for it. You know what I mean? It's just you beat your head against the wall when the stuff doesn't work.
Yes, sir.
But, yeah, man, I mean, it's like when John Heffron is coming to the Comedy Castle, you know the holidays are right around the corner. That's it. It's the start of the holiday season. We are weekend.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this podcast, it's probably a Tuesday. My show is just a few days away.
Yeah.
I've been at the Comedy Castle. I believe this is my 35th year.
Wow.
Doing comedy. So I think I've headlined here at the Comedy Castle. That's a 34 years.
Yeah.
So the audience has gotten to see it like a journal.
Yeah.
What's going on with you, right? You saw me at age 20 when I was on the stage, just hurrying up because I want to get to the to the dance club. I want to get to Boogie Fever in Ferndale. So I'm trying to get off the stage, and then I got older, and then you saw me talk about graduating from college, and then it's literally been a totem pole of my entire life on that stage.
That's it.
Through some sad times, through some good times, but it's always a good show. And if you haven't seen me in a while, you should come back. I've aged a little since you saw me last.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'll tell you what, one of the things in the last couple of weeks just really entertained me was, playing those clips before the show. And your clip that we've been running is, I'm not sure which special, if it was the latest one. It's the one from Comedy Works, talking about your bedtime routine. And just, that's not a young guy doesn't write that bit, but what a killer bit, because that's me right now. That's me right now. I'm in my 50s. That's me.
That's funny. I always wonder when I watch those clips before, at comedy clubs that have them. I always just listen to see if the audience is paying attention to those.
Yeah.
And if I would see if the audience laughs at those clips, that they're going to be a good show. Were people laughing at all during that?
I think so, but it really depends on the night. It's funny. Sometimes if it's an audience that gets there early and they're kind of settled in and they have a drink in their hand already, they'll laugh at those videos, whether it be you or whoever, right?
Ever, yeah.
And sometimes it's just chaos. Like they're getting there late, they're not even in their seats yet, they don't have a drink, half of the party's not there, somebody's at the restroom. So sometimes it's really just, background noise for the seating, but yeah, it's a great clip. That bit is just hits hard, man. I think that's a lot of what you're on to lately. You talk about as you're getting older. You're saying what people are going through right now, and it's that old thing about it's funny. It's funny because it's true. That's how your comedy's working right now, and it's terrific.
Yeah, and that's why you look in the crowd and you won't see a lot of 20-year-olds. That's always the thing is I my manager and stuff is always like, you're talking to, my age group. He goes, but there is, not to, talk behind the baseball with you, but there's a disadvantage to that because you alienate younger people. The people in their 20s or 30s, well, I can't relate to this guy. He talks about, but my whole act have always really tried to even bring in the younger people and keep the whole show like, hey, here's what's going to happen, and include them instead of, because there's a huge, if you go on an Instagram or anywhere where you watch comedy reels, every comic in their 50s, and I'm guilty of it too, but now that I'm aware, I don't do it as much, or I change it up. But what they do is they find somebody younger in the crowd, they call them Skippy or Fetus, and then they go, you never had, and then and then they say what thing was around when they were a kid, and everyone laughs at the young kid. But I just think that it's a crappy way to do comedy, because if I was a 100-year-old comic, I could look at somebody 70 and go, look at this guy. He doesn't know how to ride a bike with one big tire and one little one. Like you could always, you can always crap on the generation below you. So, yeah.
Well, and you will bring in, without doing your act, you tell the young people, this is your future. This is like a television show. You make that analogy. It's hilarious.
I've always thought it was because I don't write a lot. Like, so how I write, the problem with how I write is I do this thing called totem polling, where I'll have a joke and it'll be, let's say, 2 minutes. But then I go, oh, you know what I should say after that? And then I do this, and then I do this. So what happens is now that original joke is a 10-minute joke.
Yeah.
But it stems from the original joke. So sometimes in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing all the same stuff and not realizing that there's, the extended dance mix after every single one. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I found this. You can't see it. It's a CD. It was in my basement. I think I recorded it at the. I recorded it at the Comedy Castle, I believe, in 1991.
Okay, wow.
It's my first, comedy album, and I'm looking through the tracks on here. And I think it's so old, nobody would know if I just redid it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like we're gonna play the band playing that album that they never play it, but if you're a diehard fan or if you've never heard it, you'll love it.
Yeah, should I do that this weekend? Should I bring this CD on stage? And if I get lost, I look at the back and I'll just try to do an old bit from it.
Are you going to listen to the CD to refresh yourself or
no?
Not? No. You know it. It's in that head of yours.
Yeah, I have people. It's weird. Muscle memory, I think.
Yeah. But not every comic could do that, though.
Yeah, I think it's like, I got decapitated for some horrible accident or something. I think my bit about my mom giving me a haircut would still come out of my body, even though it was detached.
Yeah.
I just think it's in the nervous system.
Well, hey, I get that too. I feel like, I'll be on my deathbed. I could tell my jokes. Some of them, I'm not saying I tell them well.
I always think like if you can, if you're lucky enough, I don't know if it's lucky. That's a whole nother debate and it gets dark. If you're going out, like, do you try to do a set? Like if you've done comedy your whole life, you know what I mean? Or I guess it would depend on how much family I have around me. If it was one of those things where everybody's flying in or driving fast and, they can't get to me, I might try to do 5.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Just before it's over. just, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because you don't need a lot of bodily function to tell the jokes. If your mouth works, you can tell them anywhere, right? You take them in the hospital.
I can do crowd work. I can do crowd work. Like when they're above me, I can just be like, so what do you do for a living? You know what I mean? Like, and just kind of try to do that for a little bit.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, when I was in the hospital last year for a couple weeks, I did not have a sense of humor to make anybody laugh. My family will tell you that.
Oh, really?
I was like, no. I mean, it sounds great, but in reality, I couldn't do it.
There was when my mom was in hospice, there was a guy in the room next to her. And every morning, he would sing. I forgot what Frank Sinatra song he would sing, but he would just sing it at the top of his lungs. And you could tell he was a singer from even like a prone or laying down position. He was belting this out. And I asked one of the hospice nurses, I'm like, do you guys just let him do that? And then she's like, yeah, I mean, that could be his last song. Like he's doing that on purpose for himself.
Wow.
Yeah. So
reminds him of the good times.
Yeah.
Like you'll be laying there going, this feels like it's Saturday night. I'm back at the Comedy Castle.
Yeah.
It's 1991 and I'm back at the Comedy Castle.
Yeah. I wonder if I would be worried about numbers. Like if I'm in the hospital, if I'm asking the nurse, can you just like how many people are in the waiting room? Can you it's like, is it like full or, right. It'll get better. I mean, it's a Friday, it's kind of not the best day to be dying. You know what I mean? There's a football game on.
There's Halloween parties tonight. It's not really.
Yeah.
That's the comics. That's the neurosis of the comic. The numbers, the night. Who's there? Who's in front of me? What's going on in town?
Yeah.
Did they ever give you, what's the worst excuse the club ever gave you for why no one was there or why it was slow? You ever get like, what's the weirdest thing?
Yeah, they always do. Yeah, man, there's been so many. It's, there's it's the pumpkin fest,
right.
Some weird thing in town or, it's a season finale of, some TV show, or some big comic would be playing 100 miles away from you at a huge theater.
Yeah.
I reached the point where, I just blame myself. Well, no, I reached the point, actually, I don't blame myself. I just blame the club now.
Yeah.
It's not me.
It's easy.
because you guys at the comic house, obviously, you know, and again for 35 years, I've called Mark Ridley the week of, 2 weeks before. Can you send out another email? Can you send out like I don't know how people find out about shows at comedy clubs. I really don't. Like I post them all the time on every one of my pages, almost to nauseum.
Yeah.
And then I'll, you know, hey, thank you, you know, Royal Oak for a great week. And then somebody will post, oh, I wish I would known you were here. I had 40 people sitting around, not, you know. So I don't know. It's a changing time for me. Even when, you know, you know, when you first started working there or me, just as far as how to get people into the showroom. I remember at one point in my life, like in my 20s, I paid for an 800 number and I would list my dates on the 800 number.
Yeah.
Or you have to get people's physical mailing address.
Yeah, mail out a card.
And then you mail out a card.
That's expensive nowadays.
I don't. Yeah. Well, maybe, you know what, though? I mean, there's so much going on. Maybe that Valpak direct mail, maybe there's a thing there. I mean, do you throw yours away or do you go through?
I generally throw it away at this point. And that's not been my whole life with that thing. But yeah, I will throw it away more than I'll use it. Absolutely.
Gotcha. Well, there's always good like roofing, leaf gutter, California. I know almost everything that's in there.
Yeah, oil change. Like you'd go through it to get the oil change coupon.
Yeah.
For that one, as a road comic, I would do that. That was a big one.
That's funny.
Yeah. Let me ask you about that then. Hey, so you've been based in Michigan now for the last few years, and I know you've done a lot of touring, but it's a little different now because you're getting in your car and going places. How has that change been from being in LA, flying everywhere to driving to these gigs in the Midwest?
You know, it feels like old school. So sometimes I have a battle of have I you know, and this is just an insecure comic thing. Like, have I downgraded? Is this now like a thing? But now, like, I just got back. I drove everywhere. Driving sucks because it sucks. You only have to drive, and I've reached an age where I have a butt pillow that I use that makes the drive better.
Yeah, sure.
But it just makes packing so much easier. Like I remember when I started doing comedy, the road guys all drove, and then they'd go like, "Hey, I'll drive you back to the hotel," and you get in their car, and you're like, "You live in this?" Like you know, their shirts. There's a pole where they hang up all their shirts in the back. There's a gun in the backseat, a pillow, a blanket. There's a box of some type of, you know.
Yeah, there's a mic stand because the mic stand might suck at the bar that you're doing comedy.
I have one of those in my Jeep. Yeah, 100%.
See, there you go. I know it.
So you know, I did that at whatever club I was at last night, someplace in Ohio. I had my boots. I changed just in the Jeep, went in, performed, and then took off.
Yeah.
And I got to do that a lot in Michigan this year. I got to go all up and down, doing a lot of Michigan shows. And those were so much fun, doing like Frankenmuth and Sheboygan and, you know, smaller rooms, like 150, 200 seaters at places that don't normally do comedy. But it was cool. Like some of them, you know, like in Frankenmuth, you're in this like auditorium, but it looked like an elementary school kind of auditorium. So I didn't know if I was there to convince everybody that dancing should be illegal or, you know, or it was a bad HOA meeting. So you just got to get that, you know, out of your head.
We're going to vote on the school lunches right after John Heffron.
Now we have a speaker is going to tell you how to discipline your kids the Christian way. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. Yeah, those one-nighter gigs, that's sort of I feel like a little bit, and I know more from talking to guys than actually doing them now, that is sort of the frozen in amber sort of thing about comedy that doesn't change, is that one-nighter. The one-nighter in a small town, it's been the same for 30 years, it'll keep being the same.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, if you're looking back in your career, I was thinking about different, like now audiences are so much more comedy knowledgeable,
right?
You know, where you can be in a I remember being in places where they would turn off the TV because the football game was on. You'd have to convince people to stop playing pool.
Yeah.
That's so people putting on shows now have gotten smarter.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a cool time. It's a weird time period for comics because now you go see comics in arenas.
Mm-hmm.
Comics are selling 30,000 tickets, which I got to say, like a lot of those guys doing those arenas. And I'm not saying this out of jealousy. I would love to whatever, but man, if you want to go, if it's your first comedy experience, or you really want to see the person you like, I don't know if that's the environment that I would see. I don't want to see Nate Bargatze on a jumbotron.
No,
and everyone. It's just not the place. That's why I've only always done the Comedy Castle. I mean, there's a facility a couple blocks away from you guys that have comedy that I think is one of the worst places that anybody can do comedy.
Yeah, I've seen shows there as an audience member, and it's not great. It's really not good.
And all my, I have friends that go there, and I always say, you should just go to the Comic Con. Well, it's an extra 2 days, but your show's better. At that place, nobody listens to you. Everyone's at the back bar talking. It's horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a money grab. Sometimes you do that as comedy. No one's paying attention, and you just stare out into the abyss and you talk, and then.
Well, it's the shows are always going to be better in a small place. I don't care how big you get. The comic would be lying to you. That's saying, well, it's better in an arena or something. But I think for some people, they just want to see the guy. They want to say they saw the guy, and they want a night out with their friends. And so they're happy to go see whoever the popular guy is, Kevin Hart or Bargatze or whoever it happens to be. So you can't fault those guys for taking the money and doing it. But I think, and it's funny, as I speak to more, when I speak to people and I go, you could be playing big places. You sold this place out so great. And they're like, yeah, but I like playing here. There's certain guys that they love that club thing. They they say nothing's better than that. And, the lack
I always
of travel.
have, I think right after I won Last Comic, I did a place next to Ridley's, and we sold out 4 or 5 shows at that place back to back.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's done that. I wonder if anyone's ever done that besides Blanc.
There were guys. I think there have been, but just very recently.
Oh, come on.
They were doing 2 a night and a Thursday, so they were kind of doing our schedule for.
Son of,
But you did it first. You did it first.
I did it first. Come on, that place. That place needs to stick to 90s music and let people do ecstasy at it, like I did.
I remember that. I used to go there back then too, man.
Yeah, those were DJ Urban Chris used to DJ. But yeah, I never in my life if I'll sell thousands of tickets this weekend. There are a few left. Those of you listening, I would call, but I'll sell thousands of tickets at the Castle this weekend, and I've never once thought about, I could do that at this place in one night. It's not my, I'm just too loyal to Ridley and to the establishment.
Well, and to do it for 35 years. No one is doing that theater for 35 years.
No, those are one-off.
Yeah, you do it, and hey, maybe you go up, maybe you come right back to the Comedy Castle, wherever you go, or even, some guys can't even get booked at the Comedy Castle. There's so many acts out there, So many shows. I mean, I don't think anyone at the Comedy Castle has ever said this officially, but, we're a six night club now. We're doing.
Isn't that crazy? Like how, before COVID, either that or more, there's more, I call them, I don't want to say novelty acts, but there's more acts now that are one night acts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they'll sell out. And they're more like social media people, or they have really good podcasts. And comedy to me is just like music. There's alternative rock, there's yacht rock, right? There's singer-songwriters. It's all, there's a place for all of it. But now a lot of clubs on Tuesday is the whatever guy who smashes people with pies on TikTok. he has a night. Yeah. You have the girl that wants to sell her OnlyFans page, so she gets on stage and talks about comedy and pushes the OnlyFans page. There's that night, and then you know, and then you have the legacy people,
Mhm.
you know, the old people, the silver sneakers people like me. Yeah.
We've got the soap opera guys coming in next week. That's a
Yeah.
new thing. Soap opera
Well,
guys.
you know what? Yeah. Yeah. And everybody wants to do stand up, which as a stand up always gets me mad. You know, like figure, you know, say what you want about the Hawk 2 girl or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, she did a thing. But when I heard that, well, she should do stand up, I'm like, no, like it's but the soap opera guys were a thing. There's only one dude doing it when I was like 18, 19 or 20. The guy his name was Walt Willie.
Okay, yeah, I remember Walt Willie. Yeah.
I think he still does it.
Yeah,
maybe. He was one of the first, and he had an act.
Yeah,
like he literally had like a stand-up act, and he wore a stethoscope and he kind of dressed the part, and it was 8,000 women. And he'd go, yeah. Now the soap. You know, I always thought that people just want to see famous people. I think you know. You guys ever have a marketing meeting? I have an idea for you. Just bring in somebody famous. And don't even make them do a show and serve pizza. Well, you know
the what it is with this and the guys coming in, Steve Burton and Bradford Anderson, Stone Cold and the Jackal actually have a pretty good show. They come pretty regularly, but with a lot of these acts, the soap opera guys, it's all about the meet and greet. It's all about you know, they're going to be on stage for 40 minutes and then they're going to take pictures and sign stuff for 2 hours after. That's how a lot of these work now. Which, you know, that's what people want. Yeah, that's what these ladies want from the soap opera guys. Want to take a picture?
Yeah, that's all people want to do is meet greets. Like I did a show, this was years ago, and I don't think the guy does comedy, or he never did comedy, but he came on stage and it was sold out, but it was like kind of little kids and their dads were watching their phones because the guy came out in a onesie. He danced around. He sang happy birthday to somebody. He FaceTimed his dad, and then he left. So he was on stage for maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then he had a meet and greet where he sold sweaters. He did one thing about sweaters or had a sweater song. And every single person in that room waited in line to buy a sweater. Like nobody was mad that it was 20 minutes of just nothing. So that's why at my age, you know, my people come I'm trying to figure out what my meet and greet and what I sell is, you know, but I don't want to be like any joke selling. So I'm just wondering, like, I'm thinking like flavored toothpicks, you know, who doesn't want to leave with like flavored toothpicks? Right?
Well, sure. And if they're affordable, everyone will get them, right? Maybe that's
or one of those long shoehorns. You know, those really long ones. So
you don't have to bend over. You just do it from sitting up.
Yeah.
Shoehorn. Yeah, that's a good idea. Something a person that's a little bit older might need. What about like those grabby things, right? You know what I mean? Get stuff off the top shelf.
Yeah, I've already looked at. Yeah, I can get them for $2 or $3 a piece.
Okay,
trust me.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about it. Yeah, sell them for 10.
Yeah,
dude, sell them for 10. Who would not want one of those?
You put your name on the side, and that's it.
Oh my, dude, I might. Oh, I wish I could have them by this weekend, but there's no way. Yeah, in bulk, they're only. I know I got to convince my wife why I bought $2,000 grabby, you know, worth of grabby things. Yeah.
There you go. Well, listen, do it before Trump takes office because he's going to tariff all the Chinese products.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
so you got to get him. Get him
soon.
Yeah, get him soon. Get him soon. And maybe not for this weekend, but the John Heffron. Every time you need something off the top shelf or something drops to the ground that you can't get, they'll be grabbing something with your name on it.
Nice.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
There you go. Making that money, man. You got to do it.
You know.
All right, John. Anything else we should cover here, man? I think we did it all. I think that's enough. Make them pay for the rest. Come on, make them pay for the rest this week.
Yeah. Well, it's a good if you're like seriously. I would grab anybody close to your family because you know I go in stages. I would say I'm like a clean comic, but then there's a couple. I go through a thing where you know I might curse a little, but I've narrowed it down where you know. I'm not swearing except for one time. I really kind of like the theme of my act now that I have trying to bring back some nostalgia stuff because people really love that. It's just hard. It's just hard coming up with that type of stuff. But it's gonna be a good show. So there's only a few tickets left. If you haven't seen me in a while, come on down, reconnect, do your thing.
That's it, man. John, always a pleasure talking to you. Really looking forward to this weekend, dude.
All right, bud.
Thanks, John.
We'll see you soon. All right.
That's great, man. Bye-bye. Well, there you go, John. Yeah. Will you be able to buy the grabby thing? I looked these up after. These are called, if you wanted to buy one of these at the store, they're called the what are these called? The Reacher Grabber, the Rugged Reacher Grabber Tool. Yeah, some of these aren't expensive, $20. John puts his name on it. He'll sell 1 million after the show. Do it, John. Maybe not for this weekend, but in the future, grabbing things. He pulls that out from backstage. Terrific. His description of the comics car, unbelievable. Right on the money. What is in a road comics car? It's hilarious. Oh, man. Really going to be a great weekend, guys. I want to thank you all for listening to this one, and I hope to see you out there. Hope to see you. Yeah. And make sure if you're not right now following us on Instagram and Facebook, it's Comedy Castle Pod, I believe. It might be Comedy Castle Podcast on Facebook, but the links are up on comedycastlepodcast.com where you can get all the shows going back years and years, all the Tom McCarthy interviews, all the old appearances by John. We got the interview with Gus Constantelis, who's coming in on Sunday. That's on our website. And to check out our social media, follow us there. Makes us feel nice, makes us feel like we're making something that people are using. They're deciding what shows to come to based upon this show, and that makes me feel nice. So thank you all for listening. And we'll be back next week with another fun Comedy Castle podcast. All right, guys? We'll catch you then. Bye-bye.